Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. If you're new around here, welcome. My name's Tolu, and on this channel I share content all around personal finance, budgeting, frugal living, and I show you how to live your best life on a budget. If you're a returning subscriber, thanks for coming back to watch another video. In today's video, what I'm going to be doing is a book review. I'm going to be reviewing a book called Smart Money, Smart Kids by Dave Ramsey and Rachel Cruze, who's his daughter. It's been a while since I've actually done a book review on my channel, but I read this book last week and it was epic. It was an amazing book and I got so much from it that I was like, nah, I have to share this with you guys. I didn't want to just do a blog post on it. I actually wanted to do a video on it because it just was such a phenomenal book. It's all about teaching financial education to kids, but I'm going to get right into that in a second. If you haven't yet given this video a thumbs up, please give it a thumbs up because it's going to be a good one. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. And without further ado, I'm going to get into this book review for you right now. Okay, so if you've been on my channel for any length of time, you'll know that it's no secret that I'm a huge Dave Ramsey fan. Like the book, The Total Money Makeover, one of his more popular and well-known books, literally changed my finances and transformed my family for the better. So I can't rave about Dave Ramsey enough. I really got so much from reading The Total Money Makeover. A few weeks ago, my husband actually told me about his book for children, Smart Money, Smart Kids. And it was just impeccable timing, him discovering that book, because we're at that stage now where we want to start teaching our children about money. My eldest son is 6 and the next one after him is 3, and I think they're really at that age where they can grasp money and understand it. I mean, they want to buy so many things, so it's like we really need to teach them that money doesn't grow on trees, and we really need to teach them all about money. That same financial education that we didn't have as children growing up, we obviously don't want the same to repeat itself with our children. We want to make sure we equip them as much as we can as parents so that they grow up to become financially responsible adults. So it was just perfect timing when he actually came across this book and told me about it. He read it first and he was raving about it, telling me how amazing it was. I was like, okay, let me read it too. I have been reading quite a lot actually this year, so I've read so many personal finance books, but this is the first one I've actually read which is dedicated to teaching financial education to children. So I was like, yeah, let me read it. So I did read it and I loved it, and I'm going to tell you all about it in this book review. Dave Ramsey is a very popular money management expert in the USA. He has a really popular radio show called The Dave Ramsey Show, and he has 7 best-selling books, one of which is The Total Money Makeover, which I mentioned before, and another one is the book that I'm going to be reviewing in this video, which is Smart Money, Smart Kids, co-written with his daughter Rachel Cruze, who is also a personal finance expert in the US in her own right, and she's also written a number of personal finance books too. So they're really knowledgeable on the topic of personal finance. They tell it all in this book and it's an amazing read. Okay, so just to begin with, let me just give you a brief summary of the book before I really dive into why I really like the book and the lessons that I took away from it. So first and foremost, the book is all about teaching financial literacy to children, equipping them with the knowledge and the tools that they need at a young age so that they can grow to be financially responsible adults and ultimately win with their money. So this book teaches everything from the basics of working, spending, saving and giving, all the way up to the even more challenging issues such as avoiding debt and living a debt-free life, saving for university or college as the US people will call it, saving for college, saving for the future, and battling discontentment. Okay, so getting into things that I really liked about this book. There were so many things that I loved about this book, and I could literally go on and on about how amazing it was. But I just want to touch on a few key things that I really liked about the book and that really stood out to me and why I would recommend it to you. So the first things first, the proof is in the pudding. What I love is that Dave Ramsey is speaking from a place of experience. There's nothing quite like somebody telling you something that has been there, done that and bought the t-shirt. With Dave Ramsey, all these methods that he's recommending and suggesting to us as readers are methods that not only he's taught to other people, but he's actually used these on his own children, his own flesh and blood. He's used these principles, he's used these teachings for his children, and we can see the results of it now. So all 3 of his children have grown to be financially responsible adults. So that in itself should tell you something, that okay, this guy obviously knows what he's talking about, because his children have now grown up to become independent and win with their own money in their own right. I mean, Rachel Cruze, his daughter, even in the book vouches for him in terms of him practicing what he preached and teaching them these money principles throughout her life growing up. So I really admired that fact that he really was about what he said he was about, and he practiced what he preached and he lived by example. An excellent example of the proof being in the pudding was a story that his daughter Rachel Cruze tells in the book. So she tells the story about a time when they were younger, I think around the age of 14 and 15, that they wanted to save up to buy their first car, and the dad promised them that no matter how much they save, he would match that. So it wasn't a case of, I'm just going to buy you a car because I can afford to buy you a car. No, you're going to work, you're going to save your money, and whatever money you bring to the table, I will match that amount. And he stuck to his word, and he actually did match that amount that each child saved. So Rachel's brother, I think he was the older brother, I'm not sure actually, but Rachel's brother, he saved £12,000 and his dad matched it. So he had $24,000, not pounds, sorry, dollars. He had $24,000 to spend on a car of his choice. But then his dad said to him, no, you can't spend £24,000 on a car, because that's not pounds, sorry, you can't spend $24,000 on a car. That's way too much money to spend on a car. You can still have that money, because I'm going to stay true to my word. However, you're not going to spend it all on a car. So that was fine for the son, because he didn't want to spend that much on the car anyway. The car that he actually wanted only cost $14,000. So the $10,000 that he had remaining, he had saved it in his account. And fast forward a few months later, there was a natural disaster that occurred somewhere in America. I think it was in America anyway, but there was a natural disaster that had occurred, and he really felt compelled to give the $10,000 that he had left to that charitable cause. And he spoke to his father about it, told his dad, Dave, imagine, he told Dave that I want to give my $10,000 away to this charity. And his dad was like, are you sure? That's a lot of money. You're going off to college very soon. You're going to need that money. But he really felt compelled to give that money away. And when I heard that story, I was like, wow, obviously what Dave Ramsey has been teaching him over the years has obviously had an impact, which is why the son is in the position to have that money available to help and give, and not even think twice about doing so. I don't know many teenage boys that would do the same. I don't even know if I would do the same as a grown adult, talk less about a teenage boy. So it just goes to show that these money principles and lessons that he's taught his children have obviously worked, which is why his son was, number one, able to save so much money, but number two, able to give so much of it away. I love the fact that Dave Ramsey is just so straight to the point, just as he is on his show, just as he is when you read Total Money Makeover or any of his other books. It's the same again. It's Smart Money, Smart Kids. He's a straight to the point, straight shooter, sharp shooter, doesn't mince his words, says what he says, and he says it with his chest. And I admire that in him, and I love that about the book, in that every point he said it with conviction, and it was a take it or leave it kind of thing. And I appreciated that, because it's up to me, the reader, to take what he's saying and digest it or leave it. And I decided to obviously take it, and I'm definitely going to be implementing a lot of the things that he discussed in the book with my children. I love the fact that growing up, he used that same straight talking and no nonsense approach to his children also. So in the book, Rachel Cruze actually told a story of a time when she was younger and she ended up in her overdraft. So she had written a check for a purchase and didn't actually have the funds available, so the money didn't go through, and she got a letter through from the bank saying you're overdrawn, you've tried to spend money you don't have. She ended up telling her dad about this letter, and her dad was like, okay, you're going to need to book an appointment with the bank first thing tomorrow, go and speak to the manager and apologize to him. And she was like, no, Dad, you can't make me do that. And he was like, yes, you're going to do that. And he actually made her go to the bank the next day to apologize for saying that she had money that she didn't have available. And when I read that in the story, I thought, wow, he's very strict and over the top. But hearing Rachel's side of the story and hearing her say that it was a very valuable lesson that her dad taught her made me realize that no, this guy definitely knows what he's talking about. And his no-nonsense approach to parenting and teaching his children about money has obviously had a positive impact on his daughter Rachel. And it just made me think about my own children and the fact that there are going to be times when I am going to have to do things that I might not necessarily want to do, but knowing that I'm doing it for the greater good. Ramsey even said it in that story that it was a very, very hard lesson to teach his daughter, but he knew he had to do it. And it worked, because Rachel went on to say that that never ever happened again in her whole life. She's never been in an overdraft again because of that experience of having to go to the bank and speak to the bank manager and apologize for saying that she had money that she didn't have. So tough love obviously works at times, and he demonstrated that beautifully in this book. Another thing that I really appreciated about the book and I really liked about it is the fact that he offers money teachings and money principles for all types of families. So whether you're a single parent household, a nuclear family, you have adopted children, stepchildren, or you're even co-parenting, no matter what your family construct is, he gives you the tools and the tips and the practical steps that you can take in order to teach your children to manage their finances correctly and help them to grow into financially responsible adults. And I thought that was excellent that they did that in the book, because they didn't have to do that. They could have just addressed families like their own, but they chose to address all families so that all parents can raise money smart children and take something away from that book. Another thing that I really liked about the book is that the advice that he gives is for children of all ages. So he has practical advice that you can take away from that book, whether you have children that are aged 3 to 5 or you have children that are young adults, so in their late teens. There's something in there for you to be able to take away and apply to your children's situation. I really love the fact that there was still hope for you no matter where you are on your parenting journey. Whether you've got infants, juniors or young adults, you have something that you can use to help you along your way. I took away so many lessons from Smart Money, Smart Kids, but I'm just going to give you a few of the lessons that I took away. Otherwise, this video is going to become really, really long. But definitely, guys, check out the book. If you're a parent, you have a child, or you have nieces or nephews, anyone that needs to know about money that's a young adult, I definitely recommend reading this book, as I think it will in some way, shape or form help you on that journey to teaching them about finances. So one of the lessons that I took away from the book is that it's really important to teach children about money God's way. So I love that he taught his kids from a very young age that all the money that they have, all the money that their parents have isn't theirs, it's God's money, and we're just stewards of that money. So his children knew from very young that all they had wasn't theirs, which is why they were able to be so liberal. So like that illustration I gave earlier of Rachel's brother, when he was able to give away $10,000. He was only able to do that because his parents had taught him from a young age all of what he had was not his own anyway. God gave it to him, so he should be a good steward of it, which is why when that need arose, he felt no way to just give that money that he had away. And I think that's a valuable lesson that Ramsey taught his children that I'm definitely going to take away when it comes to teaching my children about money too. So another important lesson I took away from the book is that it's very important as parents to put our children to work from a very young age. From as young as children can understand cause and effect, they can understand the relationship between work and money, and it's important as parents to teach them that relationship from a very young age. It talks about giving children age appropriate work to do from a very young age, and obviously as they get older, the work that they do will increase. So it's not to say that every single thing that they do around the house should be rewarded or should have a payment attached to it, because that's going to put things out of balance and children are going to think that everything that they do they should be paid for, which again doesn't work, because in the house we're all part of the house. Everyone needs to contribute and pull their weight. But he does explain that there should be some tasks that should have money assigned to it and should have a price for it, so that they know that by me doing this, I'm going to get paid XYZ amount of money, and it's going to instill a work ethic in those children from a young age. As parents, we shouldn't spoil our children. This is a mistake that a lot of us first generation wealth builders do, because we've come from, I don't want to say impoverished backgrounds, but we haven't come from wealth. So we're the first ones trying to build wealth for our kids. So what we tend to do at times is overcompensate for what we didn't have growing up. So all the things that we wanted as children that we didn't have, we then want to give that to our kids. But Ramsey explains that that isn't a good way to do things, because all you're going to do is raise entitled children. So your children are going to feel like whatever I want, I can get, and whatever I want, I should have, just because I am here. And life doesn't work like that. You can't just have what you want when you want it. All you're going to end up doing is spoiling those children. As parents, it's so important for us to lead by example. A lot of what children learn is caught, not taught. So they watch and they observe everything we do. So it's one thing teaching children these money principles, telling them to save, telling them to budget, telling them to live below their means. But if we're not actually living that life ourselves, our children will definitely see it, they'll know it, and they won't do it. As parents, we need to teach our children to be liberal and cultivate that from a young age. Ramsey talks about the fact that from a very young age, he taught his children about splitting their money into 3 categories or 3 envelopes. So they had an envelope for giving, an envelope for spending, and an envelope for saving. So he taught them from a very young age that they need to do that as a bare minimum with their money. It's so important to avoid raising entitled children. Ramsey stresses this so much throughout the book, and it's a lesson that I've definitely taken away from it. Ramsey explained that he taught his children from a very young age that mum and dad are rich, you children are broke. He showed them from a young age that no, don't think because you live in this nice house and you have a nice room in this house that you've made it and that you're doing well financially. No, we're doing well financially. You still need to make your own. And he taught his children that tough lesson from a young age. And while I was reading it, it actually made me a little bit uncomfortable because I thought, wow, like that's a bit harsh. Because imagine that your dad is rich, your mum is rich, and then you're making me work when I don't need to. But fast forward now, his children are adults and they're reflecting on their childhood and their time growing up. They're thankful for what their parents instilled in them from a young age. The fact that their parents did give them such a strong work ethic. So it's important as parents, no matter how much money you have and whatever your financial position is, teach your children that they're not entitled to anything. Anything that they haven't worked for, they're not entitled to it, and don't let them think that they are. As parents, we need to always look for teachable moments. There's always going to be an opportunity, and there's always going to be a way that we can teach our children some kind of lesson, especially when it comes to finances. And we need to take those opportunities as and when they arise. So Rachel told the story of the fact that they went on a family trip. I can't remember the name of the place that they went to, but they went on a family trip. And before they had got there, the parents had already said to them, okay, the money that you guys have been saving up until now, bring that money with you, because that's the money that you're going to use when we get to this theme park. That's what you can use to go on all the rides and play all the games. So all of them went to their piggy banks or wherever they had stashed their money, brought their money with them on the trip, all excited, like, yeah, when we get there, we're going to buy this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. So when they got there, Rachel saw one of those game machines and she went to that game machine and started playing. She started using all her money to play the game. Using the money until she put her hand in her pocket and the money was done. She'd spent all her money at the first game and she still had the whole day left with no money. So she started begging her parents, please can I have more money, please, 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 please. Like she was begging them, and they were having none of it. They were like, no way, we're not giving you any money. You had your money and you spent it. Money ends, money is not finite. So that was a teachable moment right there, where Dave Ramsey could have bailed his daughter out. He could have given her the money. He has the money, he had loads of money. He could have just given her more money to enjoy the rest of the day. But instead he took that opportunity to teach his daughter a very valuable money lesson. And she learned that lesson because she's now writing about this lesson in her book how many years later. As parents, it's really important for us to allow our children to make mistakes with money when they're young and when they're still at home within our care. It's important to do this when they're young and in our care so that they don't make even bigger, more costly mistakes when they're grown adults. Because even if you look at the world now, there are so many grown adults which are basically overgrown kids making the financial mistakes as adults because they weren't able to make those mistakes as young children and have them corrected. One thing that Dave Ramsey emphasized throughout the book is the power of no. As parents, it's so important for us to say no to our children without explaining ourselves. He explains that your children are not your friends. He reiterates that throughout the book. Your children will be your friends when they become adults, but when they're children and they're in your care, it's important that you treat them as children and actually train them up in the way that they should go. In terms of ratings, I would give this book a solid 5 out of 5, and for so many reasons. It was an amazing read. I learned so much from it. It was such an eye-opener. It was an easy read as well. I like the fact that they really got straight to the point and didn't waste the reader's time. There's other books on personal finance that don't even have half as much content in it in terms of value, but they're double the length in terms of how long the book takes to read. So it's like they're long books, but there's not really much said in it. Whereas this is a shorter book, but there's so much packed in it. So you're getting value on every single page. So I really appreciated that about the book, and that's why I would give it a 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed reading Smart Money, Smart Kids, and I'll definitely recommend it to any parent or guardian so that they can use it as a foundation to teach their children money principles and raise smart money kids. And I think it's just a fantastic read, really. I took so much away from it. These are just some of the lessons that I learned. There's so many more, to be honest, but this book review will go on for way too long if I continue. So hopefully you guys take something away from this video. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it insightful. I hope you're going to go away and actually get a copy of this book and read it, because it is a really good book. Just in case I haven't said that already, it is a really good read. I really enjoyed it, and I think you will too. So with that being said, guys, that's it for this book review. I'm actually going to try and do a lot more book reviews, actually, because I have been reading. I've read so many books this year, more than I've read any year in my life. I'm not joking. So I've read loads of books, but I just haven't been writing reviews on them, mainly because they take so much time to do, and I've just focused on so many other things. But I am going to try and do a lot more of these book reviews if you guys want to see them. If you do, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, leave it in the comment section below as well, telling me that you want to see more book reviews, and I'll be happy to do that for you, because like I said, I've read so many books and I have so many reviews that I could potentially do for you guys. But that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you do like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you're yet to do so. Share this video with a friend, share it with a partner, share it with a loved one, share it with your brother, your sister, your mum, your dad, your gran, your nan. Yes, share it with everybody, and I will see you on my next video. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.